What is up guys, Jarv here, back today jumping into Destiny 2. Now in today's video we're taking a look at 5 awesome scout rifles that you should most definitely be seeking out ahead of Season 15. There's some pretty amazing weapon buffs coming next season, so to make sure you have the right weapons in your arsenal, be sure to stick around and enjoy the video. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a comment and rating down below. And remember to subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. Around 80% of you that watch these videos aren't currently subscribed. So if you want to keep up to date with everything to do with Destiny 2, be sure to hit that red button and ring that bell to make sure you don't miss an update. But without further delay guys, let's jump into the video. Now before we jump into the meat of today's video, I want to first invite you all to the Jarv Community Hub. This is our fast growing community Discord with over 6,000 amazing guardians. So if you'd like to talk about Destiny, share your god rolls, or just get fire teams together to get things done, then be sure to jump in. It's available to absolutely everyone, and the link to the community Discord can be found down in the video description below. Now with Season 15 merely a few weeks away, Bungie have already been releasing little bits of information on some of the things we can expect to some of our favourite weapons when the new season launches on the 24th of August. Now one of the biggest changes is to scout rifles and hand cannons inside PvE. Today we're focusing specifically on scout rifles. Now Bungie have said they have found that it takes minor enemies in high endgame content too many shots to kill those combatants, and they want to see these weapons become more efficient inside PvE. So it's with that in mind, we're going to take a look at 5 legendary scout rifles that you should be seeking out in the final weeks of Season 14. Now the first one we're going to take a look at today is the Vouchsafe. And this is a lightweight frame void scout rifle that you can obtain via the Dreaming City. Now this has a random chance to drop either from the Blind Well by completing the weekly mission, the Ascended Challenge, or even the Shattered Throne dungeon. Now the Vouchsafe is one of the only void scout rifles currently available inside Destiny 2, with the other being the Royal Chase, and you can get this through the Season of the Hunt over at the Cryptolith that you can find from Crow over in the Tangled Shore. Now what makes the Vouchsafe stand out over the Royal Chase is the perk combinations available on this weapon. Now as well as amazing perks, it's also lightweight frame, so as well as having superb handling, you also move faster when you have the weapon equipped. Now in terms of actual perks themselves, there are some new perks that have been added to this weapon when the weapon was reprised earlier this season. Now one of those is exclusive to the Shattered Throne dungeon, and that is Vorpal Weapon, which will help you deal extra damage to bosses, vehicles and any guardians that may be in their supers. Now the most important perk on this weapon, which makes it absolutely top tier for end game content, is Explosive Payload. Now this is where projectiles create an area of effect detonation on impact. And what makes it so good on a scout rifle, especially as these have the barrier mod this season, it means you can break a barrier's shield in 4 shots instead of 5. And not only this, whilst this is a void scout rifle, having explosive payload means it does more damage to other elemental shields too. Now while you won't notice this so much in Grandmasters due to match game, it is very noticeable in other Nightfalls that you run on lower difficulties. Now the role that I have on mine is Rapid Hit and Wellspring, where kills with the weapon generate ability energy, and that is divided between all my uncharged abilities. That isn't too bad. As I said, Explosive Payload is definitely the perk of choice, and if you pair that with something like Rapid Hit, then you have exceptionally fast reloads too, putting you back in the action as quick as possible. So if you haven't got your hands on a good Vouchsafe just yet, I highly recommend jumping over to the Dreaming City and running those activities to give yourself a shot and getting your hands on one. Now next up in our list today is the Eternal Blazon. This is a legendary scout rifle of Arc Element. Now if you haven't got your hands on an Internal Blazon just yet, this is part of the world loot pool. So one of the only ways to get this is via the gunsmith over in the tower and handing in gunsmith materials. Now similarly to the Vouchsafe, the Internal Blazon is also lightweight frame, so superb handling, and once again you move faster when you have the weapon equipped. Now whilst this weapon is also quite a difficult one to get your hands on, much like the Vouchsafe, it has some great perks available on it, which make it an absolutely top tier choice when looking for an Arc Scout Rifle. Now sadly the Internal Blazon doesn't roll with Explosive Payload, but it does have 2 very interesting perks which are top tier for end game PvE content. One of these is One for All, and this is where hitting 3 separate targets increases your damage for a moderate duration. So to get a damage bonus, you don't even need to defeat combatants, you simply need to hit them, and with a fast firing lightweight frame scout like the Internal Blazon, that makes it a very great choice for Grandmaster Nightfalls. And another top tier choice, which is often slept on as a top tier perk, is Disruption Break. And this is where breaking an enemy's shield with the weapon makes them more vulnerable to kinetic damage for a brief period. Now if you find yourself in a Grandmaster Nightfall with loads of arc shields, then you're going to be proccing Disruption Break a lot of the time. And if you pair this with a very powerful and potent kinetic weapon, something like Izanagi's Burden for example, then you're going to be able to deal incredible amounts of damage to individual targets. Now, as well as those extra damage dealing perks, it does come with rapid hit once again, and more interestingly, one of the only scout rifles to come with overflow, and this is where picking up special or heavy ammo will reload the weapon beyond its normal capacity, a very rare perk, especially on scouts. So be sure not to sleep on the internal Blazon. It has some top tier perks available on it and could be an absolute godsend when it comes to Grandmaster Nightfalls in the up and coming season. Now next up we have the Trustee. This is a legendary solar scout rifle available from the Deepstone Crypt raid. Now this scout rifle is a rapid fire frame, so this one fires in full auto and has deeper ammo reserves too, and you also get a faster reload when your magazine is empty. Now this scout rifle absolutely chunks through ammo due to its fast fire rate, but it has some unique perks on it which makes it a very powerful weapon, especially as a fast firing scout. Now unlike the previous scouts we've covered so far, which either had rapid hit, overflow, explosive payload, or even disruption break, this scout rifle has none of those perks available. But as with that being said, it does have some unique raid exclusive perks on it which make it absolutely top tier. Now one of those perks is called Reconstruction, and this is where the weapon slowly reloads itself over time up to double the capacity. And the other perk on offer, unique to this weapon, is called Redirection, and this is where damaging rank and file combatants will increase damage against more powerful ones, making it a very strong perk combination, especially for Grandmaster and endgame aspirational pieces of content. Now out of all the scout rifles we're covering in this video today, this is in fact one of the rarest, mainly because it's locked behind a raid, with only 46% of the player base currently having this in their inventory. Now having a scout rifle like this in your fire team makes barrier shields an absolute breeze, and with the buffs coming in season 15, this is going to be able to deal even more damage to those rank and file combatants, making the redirection perk even stronger than it currently already is. So if you haven't got your hands on a good Trustee or the perk combination of Reconstruction and Redirection, be sure to get those fire teams together and jump into the Deepstone Crypt to see if you can get your hands on one. Now the penultimate weapon in our list today is the Hung Jury SR4. This can either be the normal or the Adept version. Now the Adept version naturally allows you to put Adept mods on it and also has a double perk in the first column of its perk tree. So if you want the best performing scout out of the Hung Juries, you most definitely want to be seeking out the Adept version where possible. Now out of all the weapons that we're covering today, the Hung Jury SR4 Adept is one of the rarest, with only 31% of the player base currently having one in their inventory. Part of that is linked to these weapons being exclusive to Grandmasters, especially for the Adept version, with the normal variant being available from pretty much any Nightfall difficulty. Now a key thing to remember if you haven't got this already is the harder the Nightfall that you do, the more likely you are to get exclusive Nightfall rewards at the end of the activity. Now the Hung Jury isn't currently available at the time of posting this video, however will be available for the penultimate week of Season of the Splicer. This will be for the week commencing the 10th of August, so be sure to mark that in your calendars if you're still chasing down a Hung Jury scout rifle. Now unlike all the scout rifles we've covered in this video up until now, this one is a legendary kinetic scout rifle, and this one's precision frame, so the weapon's recoil pattern is more predictably vertical. Now the Adept version of the Hung Jury will always come with Bottomless Grief, and this increases your magazine size, and while you're the last living member on your fire team, each final blow will refill your magazine. Now the Hung Jury is a reprised weapon and has some perks very similar to what it had back in Destiny 1. This can still roll with rapid hit, and much like some of the other scout rifles we've covered in this video today, it can also roll with explosive payload, one for all, and uniquely on this weapon, Firefly. Now Firefly is where precision kills with the weapon increase your reload and cause a target to explode, dealing solar damage to nearby enemies. So whilst this is a kinetic weapon, it can still create solar damage explosions which can create war mine cells. Now war mine cell builds are very strong, especially inside PvE content, and having a kinetic weapon that's not even a Seraph or Ikelos weapon that can create cells gives you great build diversity when approaching Grandmaster and endgame aspirational content. So once again, if you haven't got a Hung Jury, be sure to mark August 10th on your calendar and jump into the Grandmasters before the end of the season to get your hands on one ahead of season 15. Now the final weapon in our video today is the Nightwatch. This is a legendary kinetic scout rifle and was introduced back in Season of Arrivals. Now this scout rifle is a lightweight frame, so once again you have superb handling and you also move faster when you have the weapon equipped. Now if you haven't got your hands on this, which I'll be very surprised as 97% of the player base have finally obtained this in their inventory, then you can get this as part of the world loot pool, or if you want the optimal roll, then I highly recommend running the New Light campaign and you're guaranteed an absolute god roll with a unique perk. So I highly recommend running that New Light campaign if you haven't finished it on an alternative character already. Now, much like the other scout rifles we've covered today, this can also roll with rapid hit and explosive payload, making it an absolute top tier choice. It can also roll with things like Outlaw and Subsistence, allowing you to get either fast reloads or persistent damage against combatants, as Subsistence allows you to partially reload the magazine from reserves. Now, the optimal role though that you should most definitely be seeking out is the one that everyone can get via the New Light campaign. It's the role that we have in this video, where you're guaranteed to get extended magazine, which greatly increases your magazine size, alongside overflow, where picking up special or heavy ammo will reload that weapon beyond its normal capacity, and that is paired perfectly with explosive payload. Now, as we mentioned earlier in the video, explosive payload is fantastic for endgame content, especially barrier champions, as you can defeat an entire barrier in just 4 rounds. But with overflow and extended magazine, and pair that with a backup mag mod, you can have over 40 rounds in a single magazine. And to have over 40 rounds in a scout rifle that's going to be getting a damage buff in season 15 will put you in a very strong place when approaching new activities in the up and coming season. So there we have it, guys, a good look at 5 immensely strong legendary scout rifles that you should be seeking out. So if you don't have some of the roles we've mentioned in this video, or you haven't obtained the weapons at all, be sure to get farming away ahead of season 15 on the 24th of August. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to check out one of the 2 videos you see here in these cards for more Destiny content. I want to jump back into the game as always, guys, and I will catch you all again very soon.